Jess Williamson, welcome to eTown.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is so cool. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, we want to get to know you a little bit. It seems like this moment is, it's your fifth record, but it seems like now people are kind of noticing, great press and Rolling Stone and all this stuff. It's like Jess Williamson's arrived.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't help putting out a record in the middle of COVID.
No.
My last one kind of flew under the radar.
Yeah.
Just wasn't a convenient time for new music.
No, but it also made you were stuck in LA, and it made you kind of transition from one theme and one form of songwriting to another. It seems like you went from I don't know, I want to say that your previous record, Sorceress, wasn't apologetic, but it was tender in certain ways that felt like maybe it was almost a breakup record or something like that. But is that fair? I don't know.
No, I love this. It's true. I mean, that record was written kind of in the last gasps of a relationship. And then by the time the record came out, because as you know, it can take a year, after you record an album. By the time the record came out, the relationship was over and it was COVID. And I was kind of faced with lockdown and being, single for the first time in so long and being really heartbroken and also, bummed that I was having to cancel all my tours.
Yeah.
And
that sounds like good song fodder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I had nothing but time and a lot of inspiration.
Yeah.
And I was really motivated to just write a lot of songs.
Yeah. And the new record feels also like it's, the journey you've been on for a while is as spiritual as it is musical, it seems like. And chasing, love and connection and And I guess I want to know when you were there and stuck in LA, did you feel the difference between being alone and being lonely? Did you make that distinction? Was it a lonely time for you, or was it okay?
What was cool about that time is I realized that if I embraced the solitude, it wasn't so lonely, really. I think sometimes I think the anxiety, thinking that you're going to be lonely is actually worse than the reality of just being by yourself.
Yeah.
And, I should say I wasn't always alone. I had a couple other friends that were in my pod that also lived by themselves. The other single people kind of all found each other a little bit. So I had, a couple of friends I would go on walks with and stuff like that.
Did you eventually do dating apps and stuff like
Yes.
that? You did? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never done that before. And then...
Neither have I, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it was, it's funny. That was also good song fodder. So, it wasn't something I was ever really interested in, but then it was this moment where it was kind of the only way to meet anyone.
Right.
And so a couple of my friends were doing it that I thought would never, and so then I was like,
we were talking about fires. Was it Tinder? Was that the one you're using?
That very brief.
Yeah, okay.
That was the scary one.
Yeah. Anyway, I do want to ask you about how the early you, when you're a college kid, and you were drawn to the banjo. What made you find the banjo as your instrument for self-expression?
Well, I really loved folk music. I really just loved, especially, in the early 2000s, there was this freak folk moment where, Joanna Newsom and Devendra Banhart were making, and still do make, some of my favorite music. And I was really into kind of their whole scene. And then when I was in college, a friend of mine had a house show, and this local Austin guy named Ralph White played, and he plays the banjo. And I'd never seen it played that way. He has this incredible style. It's really unique to him. And I was enraptured by that. And the next day, Googled banjo lessons in Austin.
Wow.
And found this place, South Austin Music.
Yeah,
it's a music store.
Yeah.
And found my teacher, Eddie Collins. And it was really affordable. And to my surprise, he had an opening, and I just showed up and started taking lessons.
Yeah. So you showed up in New York City going to Parsons and studying photography with the banjo in hand.
I know. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was like a fish out of water.
In a way, but it's also sort of like the hippest hipster in Brooklyn would probably be doing that.
Well, and then I think too, Woody Guthrie, it's not so, there's such a history of folk music in New York too,
Hey, that's where I come from. And that's how I got exposed to folk music and
That's cool.
all that stuff. Well, the journey continues, and now you went out to LA. Now you're back in Marfa.
Well, I'm splitting time between LA and Marfa, Texas now. Yeah.
And Marfa's a super art centric town. It's kind of an island unto itself, isn't
Absolutely. People that live there call it like being on the island. And when you got to get out of town, you got to get off the island every now and then.
it? Yeah. And so, when you normally tour, are you touring with a band or?
Yeah, I'm just about to wrap up a little over 3 week tour with my band. Yeah.
Well, we don't have your band with us this week, but we have our band.
I know, it's awesome.
So we should eventually play some music together.
I would love to.
But meanwhile, we've got more music to listen to. You got another song. Is this an old song or a new song? What are you going to do next?
I was going to do another one from the new record.
The new record, okay.
Yeah.
All by yourself.
All by my lonesome.
All right, okay. Well, that's the vibe. Yeah. Well, listen, we're glad you're here. We're glad to get to know you a little bit. And we look forward to playing a little music with you in a bit.
Me too.
Welcome back to eTown, Jess Williamson. Thanks.